Is there a car that stands out to you? You said the Miura, but where it's like, God, they got this one really, really right.
Well, that's a very interesting question, because I mean I've been extremely fortunate that I've worked on just about anything and everything in the last 40 years.
Yeah.
But there's one particular car that does stand out the other way that I always wasn't fussed on the looks of, and I got in it and drove it, and it's like, this is amazing.
What's up, folks? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. Factor is in the house. Time to power up for springtime with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Get nutritious, chef-prepared meals delivered straight to your door, leaving you time and energy to tackle everything on your to-do list. And if you know anything about me, you know my whole life is my to-do list. That's why I love Factor. Like today, Zach and I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go film, right? I had a bar, and then I got back from a long day's work at 11:30 a.m. Like, that's what happened. You're hungry. You don't want to wait for food. You want to eat healthy. Factor in the fridge, ready to go. 2 minutes in the microwave, and you are done. If you're too busy to cook with Factor, skip the trip to the grocery store and skip the chopping, prepping, and cleaning up too. Factor's got fresh, never frozen meals, and they are ready in just 2 minutes. Just heat and enjoy. Whether it's keto, vegetarian, calorie smart, protein plus, or more, the meals are prepared by chefs and approved by dietitians, and every meal has all the ingredients you need to feel satisfied all day long. 34 options each week. There's always something new to try. Try meals any time of day, breakfast options like egg bites, smoothies, and more, or replenish your snack supply with an assortment of 45 or more add-ons. You want to cut back on takeout? Get Factor instead. It's cheaper than takeout, meals are ready quicker than restaurant delivery, and you can put the time and money you save towards planning activities for when the weather warms up with the family. Get Factor and enjoy clean eating without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered directly to your door in 2 minutes, no prep, no mess. So head to factormeals.com/tire50 and use code TIRE50 to get 50% off your first box. All right? TIRE50 at factormeals.com/tire50. Got to do it twice. You got to put it in the URL, got to put it in the code box. Then you get 50% off your first box with Factor. All right. Also, breaking news, Manscaped now sells beard products. Lordy me, I am ready for it. That's right. They are revolutionizing men's grooming with the brand new Beard Hedger Pro Kit. They sent me one, and I am ready to use it. I haven't used it yet. I'm scruffy right now, but when I get home, go to the gym and shower, I am going to get down on this Beard Hedger kit, and I will report back next week on how well it works. But according to them, the Beard Hedger Pro Kit allows you to shape your signature beard look, and now you can use Manscaped products to make your drapes match your carpet. Best metaphors with Manscaped, using code TIRE20 for 20% off and free shipping. This thing is a juggernaut of fixing faces. It's a cordless trimmer with a rotary wheel that gives you 20 different hair cutting lengths with one guard. No more messy drawers full of extra add-ons. No more weird attachments. That's right. Face grooming doesn't need to be hard. 20 different beard lengths in just one guard. You know what happened to me once? I was using a different trimmer, a trimmer that I liked at the time, and it had a snap-on guard attachment. And I was trimming my beard, and right in the middle of the trim, the guard goes flying off across the room, which in itself is not that big of a problem, except that I shaved half my beard with a then guardless thing. And I had to, basically ditch my entire beard because I would have looked like I'd just been in a machete battle or something. It wasn't good. That's why this is a real improvement on that. It's waterproof, so you can shave in the shower and avoid all that hair in the sink. The blade is coated in titanium, light on hair, or tough on hair, but smooth on your face. And they've created 4 dermatologist-tested formulations for your post-trim skincare. They've got beard shampoo and conditioner. This is important. You can get dandruff and itchiness underneath the beard. You got to take care of the beard just as much as you would your regular hair, if not more. You got beard oil, very important, right? It's essential. No one wants a brittle and dry beard, and the oil relieves that dryness on the beard hair and the skin beneath, and it gives you a little shine. Then you cap off the kit with the Beard Balm, a pomade that shapes, styles, and moisturizes if you've got a longer beard. Also comes with 3 free gifts, a beard brush, comb, and scissors, ensuring your beard is ready to impress. So get 20% off and free shipping with code TIRE20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use code TIRE20. The Manscaped Beard Hedger, 1 stroke, 1 guard, 20 lengths, baby. All right, folks, special guest today all the way from the UK. I saw on his Instagram he was in town, hit him up and got him to come in for a last-minute show. Mr. Iain Tyrrell is here. Iain is a restoration, maintenance, and service expert on very valuable and rare vintage Italian, British, and German cars. You may know him as the guy who works on Harry Metcalfe's cars, if you're a fan of Mr. Harry Metcalfe. And Iain also has a workshop and creates some very interesting and deeply nerdy content about the stuff he's doing in his workshop, from restoring Miuras, finding the correct engine for a very rare Lamborghini 350 GT, doing a full restoration on Harry Metcalfe's Countach, talking with people who provide parts and services for these cars throughout the industry. And man, is he a sweet guy with a great story to tell, and we talk about all kinds of stuff about vintage exotic cars. I love having conversations like this. We sort of dive into this conversation talking about why he is in Los Angeles, and it may appear somewhat contextless as we dive into the show, but he's actually here to go through the estate of someone named Claudio Zampoli, who started a company called Ceseda, who had a 16-cylinder car called the Moroder, and he is helping sort out the shed full of parts and cars, and that is where we begin with this show with Mr. Iain Tyrrell, Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. I record the intros later, so we just dive into whatever. So Zampoli, it's pronounced, is the guy, Zach. Do you remember the Ceseda Moroder, the 16-cylinder thing?
Yep.
So that's the guy he's talking about.
Oh, okay.
So he's trying to sort the affairs of this, of someone whose affairs were famously unsorted.
Exactly. That was while they were alive.
Yeah.
It's good job. I like a challenge.
Yeah. So what's around? What, have you been to the shop yet?
I have been to the shop. Yeah.
What is there?
We've got a complete car, just about, which is having its because engine management systems from the 1980s and 90s. You know, you have ICs blowing up in them that were made by some obscure company gazillions of years ago, and that's all got to be unraveled. So there's a new engine management system on the way for it, which is being developed in Detroit.
Okay.
But there's
America.
also...
Yay, America.
Then there's lots of engine blocks and parts and other frames.
Oh, that's wild. So can you cobble together a few more cars, you think?
Well, that's the $64,000 question.
How interesting. That's like, have you heard of the Vector car?
I have.
Remember the Vector?
Yeah. Jerry Weigart?
Yes, exactly. He was from here as well, and we used to see him at Cars and Coffee's events. He was a very interesting gentleman.
Yeah.
And when he passed away, you know, you could have bought the body bucks and all kinds of stuff. And in fact, one of my friends tried to buy a crates that would have somehow led to a Vector M12. You know,
was the original one called W8?
W8 was the first one.
I loved the look of that car.
Oh, it was crazy looking. Terrible car, but a crazy looking car. Had a transverse big block Oldsmobile engine.
That would be the 8.2,
I think so.
454,
I believe, with twin turbos. Put on, I think developed in part by Ligenfelter, and a 3-speed automatic torque converter gearbox.
Right. Not the Hyvo chain one like the Toronado or the Cadillac.
It was a Tornado. It was a Toronado powertrain with twin turbos
with
put
that
on
huge Hyvo chain.
Just insanity.
Yeah.
And then the M12 was the Diablo-based one.
Right.
Yeah, which I think worked a little better, but nobody cared by then.
No.
How interesting. Well, so nice to have you. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you. No, thank you for inviting me.
My internet friend Harry Metcalfe says that you are the guy, and his videos back that up. Your YouTube channel is a deep, dark rabbit hole of vintage nerdery, and I love it. So how long have you been in the old Lamborghini, old Ferrari, old weird car game?
Well, I started off as I got invited to be a Rolls-Royce and Bentley trainee mechanic when I was, because they were the same company then, when I was 19.
Like at a career fair?
No, they just called me.
Where did they find you?
Well, my dad, we bought a Silver Cloud 2 as a family, okay? Because they were cheap as chips in the 1970s, actually. And we took it to the local Rolls-Royce and Bentley service centre for servicing. Mm-hmm. And the guy there, he just called me one day. I'd been over a few times, and, you know, I was just as nerdy then as I am now. And he called me one day and said, "Are you happy working with your dad in his business?" And I said, "No, not really." And he said it was a packaging business. I mean, there's a limit to how excited I could get about polythene sacks, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah, although one of the richest people I know makes cardboard boxes, incidentally.
Oh, well, yeah.
We could talk about it on his yacht later.
Exactly, yeah. No, I get that.
Yeah.
But so he invited me. He said, "Do you want to come and be a trainee in the workshop?" So that's what I did, and we were working almost exclusively on Silver Clouds, Silver Shadows, very early Silver Spirits. Mm-hmm. And then I started to diversify into Italian cars, because I just, the more complicated, the better. The likes of the Chisetta, I'm actually like a pig in mud with that. You know?
So your dream car is like a Citroen SM, then? Is that about
wouldn't necessarily. I like SMs, but, you know, wouldn't quite say that.
Interesting. So you were working at the Bentley Rolls-Royce Service Center, and then you said, "I'm going to start my own workshop."
Yeah, so I started my own shop in late 1984 when I was 21. And I mean, I never knew from one moment to the next what was coming through the door. Weird and wonderful cars, Monteverdis.
Oh yeah, wow.
I mean, Lotus Cortinas.
If you're in Los Angeles, and maybe in England it's different, but if you open a classic car workshop at 22 or 23 years old, people will look at you like, "What do you think you're doing? Are you serious?" You know what I mean? Was it like that then, or?
Oh, totally.
It was. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy.
No, trust me. I had a guy with a customer with a collection of Ferraris, including a 250 GTO. Mm-hmm. Okay, and he dropped, and I was a thin little rake when I was in my early 20s. I was 145, 150 pounds, 6 foot tall. So, you know, I was skin and bone. And he called me and said, "I want you to do some work on my 4-cam 275 for me." And I said, "Yeah, pleasure." He had 3 of them, by the way. And he brought it over, and his wife came. This was in the days before trailers ruled the world. You know, people drove cars to have them fixed or whatever. Uh-huh. And he drove the car to me, and he got out and handed me the keys and said, "There you go. You know what the problem is." And his wife looked at me and said, "You will be careful, won't you?" She was not happy. Yeah. And I actually ended up having a moment in that car when I was out road testing. I had a misfire in 3rd, 4th, and 5th gear.
So you're saying she was right?
In a roundabout way.
She was right to feel how she felt.
Well, what happened was I took the car out on road tests when it was finished, and the throttle stuck on the floor.
Oh, yikes.
And I tried pushing the clutch down, and the engine just went straight round through the red line, and I thought, that's not such a good idea. Let the clutch out. It fishtailed down the road. I tried to put my foot on, and 275s have no brakes at the best of times. Mm-hmm. And I ended up going across a roundabout and almost through the local hardware store at 125 miles an hour on the other side. I did end up on the central reservation between the 2 carriageways, and I got out the car, and the throttle linkage had gone over center, the actual thing, so I flipped it back, shaking.
Oh, so it kind of once it gets past a certain point, it kind of locks open. Yeah.
So I undid it, got back to the workshop, and I thought, what do I do now? Do I call him? Do I not? And I thought honesty is the best policy. I called him and I said, "I've just had a moment in your 4-cam." And he said, "What happened?" I said, "The throttle stuck full open while I was driving it." He said, "Oh, meant to tell you about that."
Oh, shit. That's well, good thing I've discovered this problem and can now fix it. Wow.
But,
Yeah, that's scary stuff.
Yeah, I've had
How
plenty.
did the wife feel about that one?
I never found. Well, she spoke to me on the phone a few times afterwards. So, yeah.
That's amazing. So were those in the 80s? I mean, now we famously look back at the classified ads for cars like that, and we chuckle. Rate 275 NART race history competizione,
Exactly.
45 grand with spares.
Yeah, exactly.
with spare engine. So at the time, were those? I mean, they were still Ferraris. They were still beautiful, but was it that kind of like sort of thing, or were they just old cool cars?
They were. I don't think the 4-cam 275 has ever gone out of fashion. Really, I mean, the car in the late. At the time I worked on it, it was worth £750,000 then.
Okay.
I mean, a 250 GTO. He famously bought his GTO, and I'm probably revealing his identity here, but he bought it in 1981 for £130,000.
Good buy.
Not a bad buy,
Yeah,
really.
it's a good buy.
No, they were still venerated even then.
My friend Bruce Meyer here in Los Angeles is kind of a heavy hitter. We call him the ultimate one-upper when it comes to his car collection. He has a 275 4-cam that he bought new. He's an older gentleman.
That would do it.
And he bought it new. But he had a choice. He went to the Ferrari dealer at the time and had a choice. He could have bought the brand new 275 4-cam or a lightly used GTO that was parked right next to it for the same money. It was like $13,000 or something in 1967, and he chose the 275, and so a rare bad investment from Bruce Meyer, only comparatively speaking. So if you do you have your workshop is full of all kinds of crazy stuff from the last 50 years, going all the way up to the 90s or so with that Rolls-Royce or the Bentley I saw you. Not an Arnage. What was it?
Continental R.
Continental R. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite mark or type of car that really it brings you more joy than others to work on, or?
Well, one of the cars that's always grabbed me is the Daytona. I love Daytonas. I've had the privilege. I mean, this was what I say about the joys of having the business I had. One day I got a phone call out of the blue in 1986 from a guy who had a Daytona. He said, "I'd like to bring it in for some work." And I said, "Oh, yes, sir, of course." And he said to me, "What's your labour rate?" And I said, "Well, it's £10 an hour." And he said, "Oh, it sounds a bit cheap to me." And I said, "Oh, terribly sorry, that's for ordinary cars. For Ferraris, it's £12 an hour." Yeah. And he's like, "Oh, that's okay, I feel better now."
Now it's an interesting lesson, right? Where you the craftsman, the small business owner, you're probably in your head going, and what is the right amount to charge? What is too much? What is it? And inevitably, whatever your number is, someone is going to call you who can't afford it. But by charging more, you present yourself as somehow being higher end. It's a good small business lesson.
Well, it's a lesson I came to the party late with, because I was very, very deferential. Oh, you brought this amazing car in. I'd rub my hands nervously. I'd slide the bill across the dash to them and say, "Terribly sorry." And they go, yeah, exactly. Yeah, petty cash.
Yeah.
But no, that was an interesting. But I love Daytonas.
What is it about that car? Just how it looks, or the engineering, or?
I love the shape. It still knocks me out. Of course, what's not to like about a 4-cam Ferrari V12? I've had some epic drives in Daytonas over the years. I love the power band on them. You can floor the throttle at 1200 RPM if they're tuned properly, and it's just like an electric motor. He says in the 21st century, but not with the noise of an electric motor.
Drive that back to back with an electric car. I assure you, it's not.
No, yeah,
it's much better.
How to out Daytona.
Right.
Pitch it up against a Tesla, but
someone's going to find one that's burned and put an electric powertrain in it, and somehow think they've done the right thing.
Please don't. Yeah. And the other one is Miuras. I like Miuras as well, and they were sort of rivals at the time.
They're really interesting cars because they're now old enough where no one even really cares how they drive. It's deeply secondary to how they look and what they're worth and the historical context of those
I care
cars.
about how they drive. Oh yeah, they've got to work. For me, they've got to work properly as well. That's my thing.
Yeah,
is setting. We were chatting, walking around earlier. You know, a car can look like $1 million, but you jump in and drive it, and it feels terrible.
Yeah.
That's for me. That's
And they're finicky, right? Miras. Are they hard to set up
yeah,
right?
yeah, very.
Because I've actually never driven one. That's one of the few on my list that I've never driven. And I've heard stories about they have less fuel, they get light at the front, and this and that, and they don't really handle that great. But is that stuff true or not really?
To greater or lesser degrees, yes, it is actually. They are. It's like a piece of hi-fi or a Stradivarius. I mean, I'm not trying to presume that I'm like some super amazing person who can tune violins, but it is about the setup. It is about the setup. It makes or breaks these cars, and so many of them just drive really badly.
Where do people go wrong? Without throwing anyone specifically under the bus, what is a bad one versus a good one?
Just about everything imaginable. The steering being too... They blame the Daytona's classic example. The Daytona steering is notoriously heavy.
I've heard
it was
that.
non-power assisted.
Right. Front engine V12 with no power steering.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But people, you get a few tight suspension joints in the front end there, and people say, "Oh, this is a typical Ferrari Daytona. It's really horrible to drive." No, it isn't.
Yeah.
The steering isn't set up properly. It's always going to be heavy, but if you get all the joints sorted out and get the alignment and everything right, it doesn't drive so badly.
People say that about Countachs too. I think that people who have never had a good Countach experience don't really understand how good they can be.
But the same applies to those.
Yeah.
They need to be set up properly.
And also, I feel like, because I have a Countach, that's why Harry and I exchange messages over, is this normal? Is this not normal? What do I need to? And mine is, I wish it was here so you could see it. It's at my guys. Everything you're doing with Harry's car now, or maybe you finished because I'm in YouTube land and not reality, is basically being done for mine. The once every 30 years, bushings,
makeover,
everything you can imagine.
Yeah.
And it's a great car. But I found that people that get to try a Countach for the first time, they try a car that's ice cold, that isn't typically driven very often, and they drive it for 10 or 15 minutes, and it doesn't even come up to temperature, and everything feels clunky and kind of shitty. But when I drive mine for an hour, it's epic, or 2 hours.
It comes alive.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's my perception versus reality difference.
Well, great. I mean, which model have you got?
A QV.
QV.
An injected QV.
Right.
It's actually very similar to Harry's car. Although is his carbureted?
It is.
Okay. Mine is a US spec car. So, but it has a V12 engineering Albertoni exhaust on it, which is pretty funky and it sounds really good. And it's red, tan, gold wheels. So it's a lovely car. I'll never get rid of it. And I love driving it. And some people were like, "Oh, send it over to Iain." I'm like, "In England? Like, what? I'm sure he's great, but like, I don't think I need to eat the shipping costs for this one." And I have a freak out in the desert.
Good.
My man Donnie.
A freak is always useful.
Love it. Yeah, he's a genius. He's a genius. He messaged me yesterday. My suspension bits are off to powder coating, so we're doing well. He just had to go to Retromobile to go shopping for my car.
That's. I mean, some of these parts are incredibly difficult to get hold of.
Right.
But to go back, you're talking about driving it. Things like the shocks in particular need warming up.
Right.
And until they are, because if they're stood around, they start to get sticky and things like that.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do, assuming, number one, it's maintained properly. Number two, drive it properly.
Yeah.
And it just starts to come to life.
The Italian tune-up is a very real thing.
Absolutely. Very mandatory.
Yeah. Folks, got to take a quick break in this show for NASCAR. It's going to Las Vegas, baby. Very exciting. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by NASCAR in Las Vegas. NASCAR is continuing their West Coast tour in Sin City at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. This is going to be a high-stakes race that you're not going to want to miss out on. The Clash of the Coliseum and the Daytona 500 kicked off NASCAR's 75th anniversary with a bang, so I'm sure we will be treated some more great wheel-to-wheel racing in Vegas as well. Which driver is it going to have what it takes to bring home the checkered flag and set the tone for the rest of the season? Find out. Make sure you don't miss out on the action and tune into the NASCAR Cup Series race Sunday, March 5th at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Pacific on Fox. So do you have a, in your experience going through all these cars, is there a car that stands out to you? You said the Miura, but where it's like, God, they got this one really, really right.
Well, that's a very interesting question because, I mean, I've been extremely fortunate that I've worked on just about anything and everything in the last 40 years.
Yeah. And even just the last couple of months on your YouTube channel have an insane spread.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it can be the most ordinary cars, like Ford Escort rally cars, which are now very desirable.
Mm-hmm.
They're suddenly into six figures, etc. But all sorts of things. But one of the comments I would make is sometimes I get in a car and I think, I've always wanted to drive one of these. This is going to be amazing. And I get in it and it's just horrendous. But there's one particular car that does stand out the other way that I always wasn't fussed on the looks of, and I got in it and drove it and it's like, this is amazing. And that's a car I've done a video on, is the BMW M1.
Oh yeah, they're awesome.
They're
sit in so nice.
Absolutely. The outside, okay, Giugiaro designed it, but it looks a bit of its age.
Yeah.
And you get in it and it's BMW 3 Series switchgear from the 1970s. And you think, ugh. But then you drive it and it just comes to life.
They're fantastic to drive.
They are.
Yeah. I drove BMW's museum car and they let me do 50 laps of their track at Spartanburg and it was awesome.
Yeah.
So great. Totally, even at $500,000, underrated experience.
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah. They're so nice.
Yeah.
Are they easy to work on?
Fairly, yeah. The fuel injection system, if it just needs tuning, that's okay. If it needs more than that, it's a Kugelfischer injection system. So it's a multi-point injection like Bosch fitted to the 911s in the early 70s, etc. But it's
yes. You ever drive one of the crazy like pro car ones?
No,
Yeah,
I didn't.
look at that. I mean, it's very rare that a car looks good with a body kit on it like that, but the M1 I think pulls it off.
No, I agree. Yeah,
they are so cool.
I just realized they look with the livery and the body kit. It reminds me of a Pantera.
Oh
German Pantera
for sure.
Yeah.
Have you ever worked on Panteras?
Yes, I have.
They're kind of cool, actually.
Yeah, I like them. I mean, I don't fit in one very easily.
No, they're small.
But I love that Tom Charter styling.
Yeah.
It just every line on it is just beautifully done. I've worked on a few. I had a customer with Prince Rainier and Princess Grace's Pantera.
Oh, neat.
It still had the Monaco crest on the back.
That's pretty cool.
Unfortunately, I mean, the last time I worked on it, it was immaculate. And the last time I worked on it, 2 weeks later, he took it out for dinner and somebody stole it and it got burnt out, would you believe?
It probably was like a tiny little master lock key. You probably steal that thing with.
It's probably off a Fiat 500.
Yeah. There's like those cars where it's like, oh, they've made 3. I learned this. We had a customer with a McLaren 720. And McLaren's are, famously finicky electronics, right? So when you pull the fob apart, there's a little key. It's about an inch long inside of it. And if the power dies, there's a secret keyhole, and you can. Well, we tried that, and the key snapped off. Instantly snapped off. And in calling the McLaren dealer, we learned that across the entire spectrum of McLaren cars, there are 13 keys. Your car. 13. Wow. 13 total keys. That's it.
Well, that's a good acquisition strategy for other McLarens.
Right?
Oh, hello, I'm going home in that one.
Yeah. And weirder enough is each dealer, you'd think, would have an example of each, but they don't.
Oh.
Because it's McLaren.
Yeah.
But 13 keys across the entire McLaren range.
Wow.
That's like a Ford move. That's not something McLaren
But I don't know what it was like here, but in the 80s, on the likes of Ford Sierras and Capris and things, we called them Ford takeaways because the key was the locks were so utterly poverty spec. You just went dunk dunk on the roof and the door would go ka-ching.
You just started with
with
a screwdriver.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's a big story recently. I think it's a recall with Hyundai and Kia that it apparently you can steal them with like a USB stick.
Really?
Yeah, it's ridiculous how easy it is to steal them. It's not good.
Oh.
But those Panteras, if you get the same, Americans, We turn them into hot rods here. They put big cams in them and all this chrome and stuff, and they ruin them.
Really?
But the stock ones are so good.
Yeah, they are sweet.
The original ones are so good.
That 351 Cleveland.
And it doesn't feel like an American engine. It feels like it revs more like a European V8 because they put a real small cam in it, so it's smooth.
Yeah,
it's really
single
nice.
carb.
So they're so nice.
Yeah, they are. No, I still think they look beautiful. The GTSs, with all the graphics on them and everything, they look great.
They do look great. Yeah. You're one of the only people I know who is willing to work on an Aston Martin Lagonda as well.
Well, I have to take some medication before and after, but
that's one of my... That car maybe one day might be a guilty pleasure for me. I mean, I love how it looks. I just think it's so weird and
wonderful.
It's a beautifully ugly, I've never driven one. Do they drive like anything?
They do. I mean, funnily enough, this might sound like a strange link, but to me, they're like an oversized Lotus Esprit of the same period.
Oh, that's okay.
Because when you sit in the Lagonda, you got that almost flat windshield in front of you, and then these sort of very angular doors and things, and it almost feels and. They don't roll, Lagondas, because the centre of gravity is so low. You drive them, and they like tiny little steering wheel. It's like point and shoot, like an Esprit. So,
so the driving experience is good then?
It is good, but there's no room inside them whatsoever.
Oh, that's a problem.
They are one of the worst packaged cars you will ever come across.
Okay, I sat in the back of the Lagonda limousine, and it still felt tight. It still didn't have a lot of room.
No.
Yeah.
Our friend here has 4 Lagondas. Bo Bachman, who owns the Galpin chain of dealers here in Los Angeles, has 4 Lagondas.
Oh, right.
Including Evil Knievel's.
Oh, really?
Yeah, which has a 427 Ford in it and side pipes, because of course it does.
Wow. Yeah.
But he's got the wagon, the shooting brake one, and he's got this limousine one that Zach is talking about, and then a couple kind of regular ones. But
well, funnily enough, a guy reached out to me while I've been over here, and he's got one that was damaged by the doorman of one of the posh hotels here.
Okay.
And it's been locked away for 28 years or something. I mean, this, I think you could be a victim for this car.
That's hilarious.
I think I'm on my way to brokering a deal here.
Yes, I will take the dented Lagonda. I'll fix that. No problem. How bad is it, do you know?
I have no idea. I think I need to chase that.
Is it? So, what's the funny thing about old luxury cars? It's different from old sports cars. Old sports cars can either take you back to a place in time, or they give you that certain kind of fizz that might be missing from modern, more heavier, more electronically controlled cars. But every time I drive an old luxury car specifically, I'm kind of disappointed because it's not like a dynamics thing, and the whatever advanced features they had for the time are no longer advanced. I'm always kind of like, the Mercedes 500e is a great example of that.
Yeah.
Amazing in 1994, but now I'm just sort of like, it's like any old Mercedes, really.
Yeah.
But if you say the Lagonda is more like an Esprit, now you can really get me going.
I like them. I like them. But I know what you're saying.
Are they as horrible to work on, though, as everyone says?
Well, the problem is, for years they've been worth not a lot of money. Mm-hmm. So the people who have worked on them haven't always done a particularly good job.
Yeah.
And that's what you're up against,
I've been there. My Ferrari 328 was that. It was a victim of that.
Oh.
But still, like, can you find parts? Can you work on one if you care?
Well, mechanically it's an Aston Martin V8. Mm-hmm. The big problem is the electronics, the dashboard, etc.
Right.
They had when they were new, I think they kept bringing them back from people to, terribly sorry, your car has broken down again.
And didn't they bail on it at some point and just put gauges in it?
They did.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, but then they went down the electronics route again because, of course, technology was moving on. But that is the biggest problem with them, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so what if you get one mechanically sorted and then you kind of remove that dashboard and use an iPad or something?
Well, I suppose that's
I suppose it's not original, but like,
no.
but you might know how fast you're going. Also,
I
don't know,
and how close you are to the next breakdown or something. Yeah. No, I mean I like them, but they're a curio.
Yeah.
They are a curio for sure.
But if I mean, I'm so jaded. I see everything. I don't care anymore. If I see a Lagonda on the road, like, I'm following that guy home. You know, forget breaking my neck. I'm following that guy.
They
wherever he's
still
going.
look amazing.
Oh, they're so cool.
Yeah.
They're the coolest. One day I'm going to have one, I swear.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you.
Do you bother buying anything for yourself? Do you have the time? Do you have the desire?
I do. I can drive around in really for years. In the 1990s, I had a Toyota Corolla base model 1.3 Toyota Corolla, which I drove around in. And actually, I really liked it because I could drive as fast as I liked, and nobody particularly, noticed. If I was in a Testarossa or something, it was like, oh, look at that guy.
Yeah. The faster the car, the slower you drive.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I quite often like cars that are under the radar. My daily driver, lots of people have asked me this. My daily driver is a Mercedes E-Class Estate 3.2 turbo diesel, okay? With
Lovely
230,000 miles on the clock. But it still goes really well.
Such a mechanic's car.
It is.
It is the perfect. It is for someone who like works on these cars. Like that is the perfect car for you. You can throw parts and stuff in the back, or the dog, or whatever.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
I can leave it somewhere and not be losing sleep over.
It is a perfect mechanic's car. Yeah.
But I've got a Ferrari 360 Spider.
Okay.
Which
is it that blue one I saw in the video?
Yeah.
Is that yours?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah. A very bizarre situation. I mean, if I was going to spec one up, it would be exactly that spec. It's manual. It's got the carbon seats. It's Tour de France blue with tan.
No, that's a good spec.
Wing shields, fender shields. And it's done 14,000 miles.
That's a good car.
Yeah.
Good car.
But the guy bought it, didn't like it. Bought it new, didn't like it, and put it in a garage, a damp garage for 20 years.
Uh-oh.
And the thing was toast. I mean, it was wrecked.
Just molded?
Oh, no, worse than that. The paint was lifting off because the water had got underneath. I mean, it was profoundly
really
damp.
Yeah.
And we've just
Isn't
quietly...
that weird of someone to do that? Like, how rich do you have to be to not just
even
sell
try to
this
sell
thing?
it, right?
Crazy.
You know,
crazy.
to let it sit.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I've been right the way through it. It's a little too modern for me, so I've had the help of a guy with the what's called SD2, the Ferrari.
The computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's sorted all that out, but do you know what? It's just about on the road now.
They're such nice cars, actually.
They're great.
They were not. I didn't appreciate them as much when they were new, but now that you can't buy a stick shift Ferrari anymore, like it's as modern as you can go, pretty much, and they feel really nice to drive.
I'm really looking forward to using that car.
Yeah, they're great cars. I have a friend with almost an identical car to that here in America, and I told him, standing offer, if you ever want out of that thing, call me. It's so great.
And I've also got an old Espada, which I'm quietly doing up as well.
Cool. Nice. I saw you have a couple of them in your shop right now. One is Harry's, right?
Yes, we have, I think, 6 in at the moment.
6? If someone shows up and you go, oh, God, not another one. I hear those are quite interesting to work on. Because they got very cheap. I mean, nobody wanted an Espada for 15 years.
No.
Yeah, you couldn't give those things away.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I remember talking about earlier about cars being advertised. I remember we had the Exchange in Mart in the UK. I don't know whether you had that over here. It was like a paper auto trader type thing. And I remember there was an Espada advertised, 1982, 1980, something like that. And it had a Toyota Corolla engine in it.
Wow. That's like Cuba.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They were tired of it breaking down.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Spot the engine. I presume you open the hood and it's like in there somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
But,
that must have looked so funny. That must have looked like a rental car in China. You know, where they knock off the Lexus RX 300 and you go in there and there's a lawnmower engine in that thing?
Yeah, exactly. But I like them because they are complicated and they're quirky, but again they handle really well.
They're like it's like double wishbones front and rear, right?
Yeah, but they got the damping and the springing on that right.
Did they?
It doesn't roll.
There's the people who have them and love them really seem to love them.
Yeah.
I feel like they know something the rest of us don't know.
Or maybe they're just on a different form of medication or
Well,
something.
they're willing to fix something we're not willing to fix.
Yeah, exactly.
A good friend of ours has one. And when you said there were 6 into your shop, it just reminded me that whenever I see a photo of his car, a lot of the time it's next to another Espada.
Because he bought a parts car.
Because he bought a parts car, and the friends are always working on the car. Like, it just seems like they struggle a bit, but the people that love them absolutely love them.
Yeah, a lot of a surprising amount of the parts are generic to Jarama and 400 GT and Islero.
Famously common cars.
Exactly. I mean, so you have no trouble.
Your local Jarama parts store.
Exactly.
You don't know what this is? It's shared with a Jarama. What is a Jarama? It's a great looking
It's not
car.
a brand of orange.
I've seen 2 Jaramas in my life.
Yes.
One was at Pebble Beach, and one is like real beat up, and the guy drives it around L.A. all the time and treats it like it's an old Chevy or something. It's great.
Yeah, but
Jaramas are very cool.
Yeah.
Really
But I'm trying to. There must be a more common model. No, you got me wondering now.
Not really.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
I think Espada was the common
It
model.
just seemed common to me because I'm surrounded by them.
Well, you
but-
got 6 of them. You're staring at it. Probably feels normal.
Yeah, I think it's more than 6 actually. I've lost count, but yeah, I think
I was at a race once, and they were racing in 2002, and a part broke, and that part had been on there for 30 years. I mean, it was a new part on that car, but it was still 30 years old. And we go to the parts place, and we're like, "What's it for?" And we said, "Oh, it's like 78, 2002." And the guy pulled the glasses down to look at us, kind of like, "You think we have that here?" And then we found something that was like a Bosch part from like a Monte Carlo, and it worked. But so do you have to do stuff like that when you're finding parts for these cars?
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, with a lot of these cars, Countach's use BMW brake calipers, for example. You know, a lot of the parts, because they ring whoever, okay, Brembo or Girling or whoever, and say, hello, we're developing this car that does 180 miles an hour or whatever. They're not going to make their own brakes for it. They're going to buy it. And a huge amount of Countach parts are bought in. So if you trace it back, the door handles are Fiat 500 Spider, for example. Fiat 850 Spider, beg your pardon. So it's once you actually know.
Yeah, I think the switch gear in the center is from like some Lancia or something. It's like little weird stuff. Yeah.
That goes on more than you might think. So
it goes on in modern. I mean, I have a 2003 Aston Martin Vanquish, which cool car. Yeah, I sent it back to Newport Pagnell to have a stick shift put in it, which completely changed the car.
Absolutely.
But at one point the fuel pump was failing intermittently, and Aston Martin wanted $2,500 for a fuel pump. Well, it's the Ford Super Duty pickup fuel pump from Bosch. It's a Ford truck pump, and the thermostat was sticking at one point, and it was shared with the Ford GT, the modern Ford GT, interestingly enough. The one in the Aston Martin box was $800. The one in the Ford box was $120. Yeah. It's the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember servicing an Aston Martin V8 Coupe in the 1990s. They made about 150 of them.
Yeah.
It was like the V500, V600 supercharged cars.
The crate with the 2 blowers?
Yeah, but this was the normal coupe version, and it was actually a lovely car. And it needed brake pads on the front and rear. Same thing. I mean, they were like £800 for a set of pads for the front, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding. So I drew an outline on a piece of paper, took it to my local motor factors, and they said, oh yeah, whatever it is, we got those.
A Ford F-150.
Whatever it was.
Like that. Yeah. Those Astons, those late 80s, early 90s Astons, they went from couldn't give them away to all of a sudden people realized how few of them they were. And now they're worth enormous money.
But the Vanquish those V12s make a beautiful noise.
Oh yeah, one of the things that I had the guys at Aston do when they were changing the gearbox was wire the exhaust baffles open because it's on that funky vacuum thing.
That's
Apparently, all you do is disconnect one of the hoses and thumb a screw into there.
That's exactly right.
Open.
Yeah. But a lot of cars are like that nowadays.
It's pretty primitive stuff, but
it
works.
Yeah.
What is as my lunatic Donnie in the desert tells me all the time, and you talk about in your videos, in that the video you were just your shop walkthrough from this month, you were talking about a set of carburetors from a Lamborghini 350 GT motor where the carburetors can cost $100,000.
Yeah.
And I've heard other stories like that as well. And if a part is that valuable, like where do you even find them at this point? Like, do you have a database of people to call where you're looking for some part that is basically unfindable?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got people who I've been dealing with since I started up in 1984. So, I mean, the most amusing stories. You know, I'll need a Dino gearbox. This was years ago, and I'd go to him and how much is that? Oh, £3,000. This was in the 1980s or something. And I say, oh, hang on a second, I've got a case of Lambrusco for you. Oh, let's call it 2.5. You know? I mean, it was all done like that, you know. Yeah. And these people are dying off. That's the problem. My Rolodex, I'm having to tear pages out of it occasionally. Yeah. But no, I still have I mean, quite often these parts come to me rather than the other way around in a funny sort of way. You know, oh, I found this in my garage. Would you be interested? That's great. You know, they're the sort of emails you like to see. But some of them are just impossible to get.
I'm sure. And what happens when you hit the wall and you cannot find the part that you need? Because it has to have happened sooner, eventually, you know, at some point.
That's a very good question.
Have you ever hit the wall where you cannot find the part and the project is either stalled indefinitely, or you can't finish it, or you have to make something else work?
I think make something else work is and I can't remember too many times when that's happened, and that's like the worst case scenario, isn't it? You know, that's not a call you want to make to the customer. We've hit a brick wall with this. Yeah. Oh, that's a very good question, and I'm not sure I've got a straight answer to that. Actually, I have got some superb fabricators in the good news is a lot of cars that we work on, they're actually fairly primitive in terms of how they were made. Sure. So we can go back to that and revisit it. Mm-hmm. You know, James, my metal worker's just made a grille for a Ferrari 250 GT from scratch. Ooh. It is phenomenal. Yeah. I mean, probably nicer than the original. It fits perfectly. Yeah. I mean, it's still quirky because it's no ways it's symmetrical, you know.
Yeah, the grille is perfect. The rest of the car,
well, the grille is perfectly imperfect because if it was perfect, it wouldn't fit.
Right. I mean, do you have so let's say you can't find the Weber carburetor that you need for this thing. So I've made a whatever other type of carburetor work, and you've got a running list of, if I ever come across this, call the customer because I can get him back and get the right thing on.
Well, one of the beauties of the fact that all these cars have gone up in value so much is the fact that people are jumping on the bandwagon and making parts for them again. So carburetors, there's a company in the UK, they've got a branch out here in the States called Webcon. And I'm actually, for example, working with them on making new carburetors for Miuras. Oh. Because they're based on a 911 carburetor, 3-choke. The early 911s had one 3-choke carburetor per side.
Okay,
per bank.
Right, yeah.
And the Miuras had 4 3-choke carburetors. But they are different because on the Miura, of course, they're mounted 90 degrees. They're across the car, whereas on the 911, they're front to back. Mm-hmm. So you've got to work out the G-forces inside the float chambers for feeding the fuel and the braking and cornering. But because they're worth so much, the original carburetors, they're actually reinventing
the parts.
Exactly.
Yeah, that economy comes back around.
Precisely.
Yeah. Pirelli and tires, same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you use 3D printing at all or scanning?
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
Has that made the metal fabrication of like a replacement part easier, whereas maybe the challenges are like a wiring or a circuit or something strange like within the dashboard or a control module? Like is that metal hardware easier to come by now, but the electronics are still challenging?
Well, 3D printing has brought it's just reinvigorated the classic car scene. You know, if we can't get a door handle or something, then we can mirror it from left to right and 3D print it. It's. I mean, go back to electrics. Yeah, we have to. Yeah, we just have to go with the flow. We have to do the best we can. You know, simple as that. If we have to 3D reverse engineer and 3D print something, we'll do it. Yeah. But I mean, they're 3D printing entire engines now that work.
Yeah.
I mean, what? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's so cool. Additive manufacturing. It's great.
From the, let's say, the 1960s and 70s, who do you think was actually making the best cars? Highest quality product?
I would say Mercedes-Benz.
Okay. And then into the 80s, same?
I think possibly, yeah. Yeah, I think. I mean, the 60s, things like the Mercedes 600 was... we're one of two companies in the UK that are recommended by the Mercedes Club to work on
those. And also famously complicated.
Oh, horrendous. Yeah.
There's one of those, the Pullman Langolier, there's one in Los Angeles right now that's got like dictator flags on the front fenders.
Is that the one in the Peterson Museum?
Yeah.
I saw that car 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
I visited. Fortunately, they invited me while I was over here. I spent an hour and a half with the historian walking around.
It's a great museum, isn't it?
That car is actually visually in fantastic condition.
Yeah. I don't know how it runs, but it does look great.
Probably.
Awful.
Probably. I mean, you got to keep those things on top form.
I bet.
And that doesn't just happen by... accident.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think
Mercedes.
I think the 116, 126, like your lovely car that you've got here. That if we're allowed to talk, I don't know.
Yeah, the Hammer. Yeah. I've talked about that car before. That's an incredible car.
Yeah,
they're so cool.
Yeah, but the 126 coupe, you close the door, boom, it's like a bank vault.
You can still do that with a G-Wagon.
Yeah.
Because it's the same car they've been making since
1970s. 1970s.
Yeah. See a lot of G-Wagons around here, right?
Oh, yeah.
Have you noticed them driving around?
I've just one or two, yeah.
They're all over the place around here. It's the official asshole car of Los Angeles.
Right. I've seen a couple of six-wheelers as well. With the V12 engine.
Yeah, you do see those around here. Yeah. Isn't that silly?
And they are monster money.
Yeah, they're $1 million, and you can't fit them anywhere. They're just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Has there been some good car spotting for you on your trip here outside of the Peterson?
I guess there has. I've been to visit a couple of mechanics over here who specialise in exotic cars, and I've seen some. I suppose, nothing incredibly amazing. I mean, the Peterson Museum obviously is
sure.
They because they have a sort of revolving door of amazing cars that come and go, They have some really interesting cars there, actually.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. Is there anything that you still to this day want to get your hands on and haven't yet? Haven't come across it yet?
Oof, wow, that's a question I've never been asked, and I don't quite know.
Really?
Yeah.
Seems pretty straightforward to me. I didn't know I was that good of an interviewer.
I'm up against the wall here. You caught me out.
Right.
I think I've probably worked. I don't know. Are there any evasive cars that have eluded me so far? That's a very good question. Can't think of any at the moment.
All right, well, you can circle back.
Yeah.
But do you get the kind of, are you a driver, or do you get the joy from driving it, or do you get the joy from making it right and seeing the owner enjoying it, or winning a trophy at a show or something? What is the source of joy for you with these cars?
I am first and foremost a mechanic. So I would, the simple answer is I am absolutely a driver. If you had two cars next to each other, and one was slightly scruffy but drove really well, and one was absolutely beautiful and was a bit ratty to drive, I would take the good driving car every time. And that's my passion. That's where it's at for me, is setting these cars up, because it continually shocks me, if I may put it this way. It continually shocks me how difficult it is for people to set these cars up properly. Yeah. It makes the world of difference to the way. For me, the make and model of car that people most seem to get either wrong or right, funnily enough, is the E-Type Jaguar, the XK8.
Is that just because there's the most of them? There's a lot of them.
Yeah, but people just don't seem to be able to get them right,
They are famously unreliable cars.
They are. But when they are right, I mean, they've got Lucas, the Prince of Darkness electrics, of course.
Yeah, for sure.
But when they are right, they are lovely cars to drive, but very few. I mean, we spend a lot of our time sorting out E-types that have been restored, quote unquote. But restoring a car is not just rechroming and painting and bolting it back together. You've actually got to make it work properly.
Right.
What do people get wrong? Like, don't give away all of your secrets, but is there one thing on that it's like, oh, they always get the alignment wrong that makes the steering feel strange, or they always, use this incorrect part and that's why they don't work well? Or
I guess it's in the build part of it. If you have a universal joint on a drive shaft on the back, for example, do you feel if it works properly before you bolt it onto the drive shaft? Because if you don't, it's going to be stiff when it goes on the car.
Sure.
It's just attention to detail.
We've gotten parts for my cars, both my 328 and my Countach, where the part has come back from whoever either refurbished it or a new old stock part, where it's actually it's broken in the box, so to speak, and it shouldn't be. We catch it and have to send it back or whatever. But does that happen to you more than it probably should?
We've had, particularly with the C word, COVID, we've had terrible problems trying to get parts actually, and the quality. Because increasingly people turn to China to have these bits made or whatever. Certain one-make specialists have had parts made. Outsourced parts, and frankly, the quality is terrible on them.
There's, Donnie Calloway, who works on my Italian cars. He said he always just wants to put it back to how it left the factory. Doesn't need his opinion is it doesn't need to be improved on from that. This car worked fine when it was new. Make it like that, and it'll work fine again. But you see other restorers who say, "Oh no, well actually, if we use this spark plug or this wire or this lubricant or this oil filter, that's better than what they had then, so we should use that because it'll be better." Do you believe in that type of restoration, or do you put it as close to factory as possible, even if something quote better exists now?
Well, I personally am not averse to doing upgrades and modifications, as long as they're sympathetic and reversible. For me, being reversible is a big thing. So if somebody has them, for example, I mean, I'm using a weird analogy, but say they're particularly tall and the driver's seat, you have to make special runners for them.
Oh, yeah. I cut the rails in my Ferrari.
Did you?
In the it still slides, but we cut the spacer out, so it's a half inch lower.
Right.
And when you've only got a half inch makes a big difference.
Absolutely. I'm not quite sure where this conversation's going.
Touché, sir.
I think the right upgrades are actually okay.
Okay.
I think they're
no right answer. I'm just curious. Philosophy.
Yeah.
The
brake calipers, for example.
Sure.
I think fitting better brake calipers is something I would. To go back to Jaguar, they had terrible brakes on them originally, and you can buy brake calipers called Coopercraft. They're made, and they improve the brakes on an E-type massively.
Is there a better caliper for a Countach?
Not
we're in the middle of this right now.
You can get better pads.
Yeah. They have a modern pad that is good. Yeah, we're getting the better pads. Yeah, we got those on the 328 as well, and that did make a difference.
Yeah, sure.
Also, we did stainless steel lines, which did make a difference as well.
Yeah.
Something about that Harry mentioned in his most recent update video with you was that he either put or had you put a power steering box in his Countach.
That's right.
Where did you find that? I've never heard of a Countach with power steering.
Well, there's a Dutch company called EZ Power Steering, EZ, okay? And they are...
What could possibly go wrong?
Well, they actually engineer them very well.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They do them for all sorts of cars. I mean, Mercedes 300s, you name it, they do power steering conversions.
That's interesting.
And Harry, this all came about because Harry put some track tires on his Countach,
right?
Slicks, and the steering. He said he could hardly control the car.
I can't believe he didn't snap the axles around the car.
Yeah,
frankly, I mean, it's not designed.
He was
for that.
pushing and pushing because the thing was trying to self-center all the time.
Sure.
So he fitted the power steering. They did a kit for it. So he fitted. It's the column. It's the bit between the steering wheel and the rack, basically. So steering rack stays the same.
And where does it get power from?
Electric.
It's electric. So
it's a motor.
This is a fairly, primitive electric power steering system, right?
It is, but it's primitive, but it isn't. You know, it's quite nicely done, actually. But he's asked us to take that off now.
Well, that's why I saw because he brought the manual shaft with him or whatever. But did you ever drive it with that power steering on it?
Ooh, that's a very good question.
I'd love to ask Harry himself how it feels. I mean, obviously it wasn't ideal because he's not keeping it in the car, but it's just it must be so strange to have a Countach with power steering.
Yeah. Well, I didn't. No, you can switch it off. There's a little switch on the dash.
Oh, how interesting.
Once it went back on the P7s,
then it becomes
tires,
unnecessary.
Then it becomes. So I've never driven it with the power steering working.
Oh, okay.
But funnily enough, we have just serviced a Countach, and the guy who owned it is an amazing engineer, and he actually put a clutch servo in the car. Okay, so he adapted a vacuum brake servo for the clutch.
So it's for hydraulic assisted clutch.
Yeah, so it does the same thing, but it's just assisted, and it works quite well. Yeah, it does.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. I don't mind the weight of the clutch in that car. It doesn't bother
me neither. Because one thing I'm also passionate about, and to go back to your earlier point about what do I mean when I say cars need setting up properly? Is the controls can be so different. For me, I'm a big stickler about all the controls being roughly equal in weight. Because if you have a super light brake that's over servoed, like a lot of modern cars are, you know, maneuver in a car park and somebody walks in front of you, and you're doing 1 mile an hour and you touch the brake pedal and you nearly fly through the windscreen. You know? Your likes of your 328, everything is balanced. The gear change is quite heavy, but it's nice.
Yeah.
The brakes aren't hugely over servoed. The clutch is okay. The throttle's reasonably well sprung.
Sure.
The steering is unassisted. It all works. It's all a package. And that to me is very important.
And all with relatively, I'd say, like the same amount of effort.
Right.
You know, it's not like
Exactly.
the clutch pedal's real heavy, but the steering's really light.
Exactly. Yeah.
The
That's the point I'm
328.
making.
Doesn't get a lot better than that. That's a very nice car.
I've had some epic drives in 328s.
Those cars are meant for long drives.
Yeah.
They're very, very good for that kind of thing.
I used to be, in the late 90s, I was technical secretary of the Ferrari Owners Club of Andalusia in the south of Spain. My friend over there had a beautiful low-mileage 328 GTS. And we used to drive. It was crazy. It was like wacky races when we went out on a Sunday. Dolph Lundgren rolled his 456 on one occasion.
Dolph Lundgren rolled a 456. There's a story. That's crazy.
No lawsuits here. Thank you.
Spain there's some driving down there.
Oh yeah, but
great roads and they're nuts.
Yeah, the road from Marbella to Ronda is famous. It's steep, sheer drops, but very twisty. But another of the guys in the club was an ex-Hollywood stunt driver, and he had a 328 GTS. And we all used to race up the mountainside to Ronda, Just fantastic.
They're great cars. I love it. Mine has enough miles on it, 42,000 miles, so who cares? It's like, who cares number of miles at this point, and I've already spent all the money setting it up. I might as well enjoy the thing.
Yeah, and they're unbreakable,
That's what Donnie keeps telling me. He says that if something is going to go wrong, you're going to get a hint of it first. It's not going to leave you stranded. You'll get a little puff of smoke, or a little smell, or a little sound, and then you'll be able to drive it to the workshop to get fixed.
Yeah,
that's a very good quality to have in a car.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. I love that. What is, if you give me your top 3 money basically no object for your personal collection?
Daytona Spider.
Okay.
Miura SV.
Okay.
Probably a Mercedes 450 SEL 6.9.
Oh, they're very good too. We have a 6.9 here. Did you see it?
No, I didn't.
I'll show it to you. Yeah, we have it. It's got the U.S. bumpers, but it is a very nice 6.9.
Yeah. They sold a lot of them here.
Yeah, they did, because we need big engines here. That's how we do it in America.
Yeah.
You got to have the big motor.
Yeah.
We always do it. Zach, do we have anything on the Patreon for Mr. Tyrrell?
We do.
All right. If you want to ask questions of our guests, check out the live stream or get the show without ads and ahead of schedule. Patreon.com/The Smoking Tire Podcast. Can you move the mouse, Zach, so that so you can read David's question there? David says, oh, never mind. Okay, we've kind of covered this from Jake, but has there been a restoration project in recent years where you were surprised by a part that you didn't realize would be an issue to source or replace? I think we covered that kind of, that it can be very hard to find certain stuff.
Not easy at all.
Michael Cosgrove says he loves your YouTube channel. I covered your question. I must be very good at asking questions because we've really covered all this. Okay, this is a good one from Lucas. I've heard that restoring classics in Europe and the UK is much cheaper than in America. Do you think this is true? Have you ever tried to compare? I don't know.
I think it.
Retromobile's closer, certainly.
Yeah. I mean, we get sent cars from the States. You wouldn't believe it for restoration.
I'm not surprised. I mean, if it's a global world now, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, so if you're doing a full restoration, spend the extra $10,000 to send it to someone who knows.
I mean, our work is really cheap. It's the profit that makes it expensive.
How many cars are you working on at a time in your shop?
Oh gosh. Probably 25.
Oh, that's a lot. How many people work under you?
13.
Oh, that's a good number.
Yeah.
But it's got to be a delicate dance of diagnose, order parts, put it to the side, install the parts you ordered last week on this one. That's I mean the management of that flow has got to be interesting.
I don't think about it too much, otherwise I just wouldn't sleep at night.
Yeah. I did not consider shipping my Countach to Iain. I knew of his work, but it's very far from California. Yeah. And I love Donnie. I'm very happy with the person who works on my car.
That is great.
Yeah, he's great. Especially once I got the 328 back, and it was like, this is what I was supposed to have, and I was like, oh, okay, hang on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Now take this one. Now do whatever you just did over here. Do it to this car.
Copy and paste.
Yeah. You know what we found in my Countach? Maybe you've seen this before. Was a little box wired into the injection system, or possibly the ignition system. It was between the ECU and the rest of the engine, and it had a little USB cable in it, and it was designed to be a way to hack or somehow modify the K-Jetronic injection.
Right. Now that's not something I've come across. No.
We took it out.
Right. Yeah. No.
So no one's ever tried. No, you never found one. USB port in the Countach before.
We found plenty of colourful modifications to the electrical system.
Well, did you find terrible alarm systems from the 90s and stuff? Oh, the worst. Let's see. Michael Ross, have you or a client typically come across a barn find car? Have you ever located one through satellite imagery like Google Maps?
Well, I've certainly come across barn finds, and the funny thing is they're still out there.
Yeah.
You keep thinking, I think we're done now, and then boom, another one comes.
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever. It sounds a bit creepy to start looking for classic cars on Google Maps.
There's people who do that. There's
really?
There's whole Instagram channels and YouTube channels of people who go on Google Street View and just start poking around people's driveways and sheds and stuff. Yeah.
Right. That's no. I've never.
Who's got the time, honestly? But
yeah, exactly. Well,
I imagine someone has found a car and sent it to you for a restoration or refurbishment.
Yeah, as I say, we keep thinking things are finished, and then literally within an hour's drive of my shop, one comes to light or something.
What do you think is the lowest production car? Now, they made 11 Chezetas, so that could be, let's say, the lowest production car you've worked on. Anything lower than 11 with a Chezeta?
Oh, wow.
I saw a video you had with a Silhouette.
Yeah, they made 50 of those.
We had one here for a time being.
Really?
Yeah, and I'll tell you a story about it later that I can't tell on the air.
Oh, right.
I can tell you it was here, but I can't tell you anything else. Anything lower than 11, though, that's pretty low.
It depends whether you mean a standalone model or a subdivision of a model.
Okay, well, if either comes to mind.
So they made, it's funny how many cars they made 7 of in right-hand drive, funnily enough. Mura SVs, genuine Daytona Spiders, UK supplied. They made 7 of those.
Do you think it's a coincidence, or is there a regulatory reason for making 7?
I think, no, it was a coincidence.
I think there were 7 people in the UK at the time who
Exactly.
could afford those cars, and the same person bought all of them.
Well, the same person's owns most of them now.
Yeah,
But,
yeah, right. It's like Nick Mason and who else?
yeah. But there's a few. Yeah.
That's interesting. Okay, Mark Podmore said, would you consider workshop tours for registered visitors?
Ooh, I used to do that, but since we started with the YouTube channel 3 years ago, we get a lot of people coming to saying, "Can we come and have a look round?" I mean, it's. I suppose
you know what you should do. You should do a once a year open house. One day, bang it out, put up some ropes, let people poke their heads in, give them a sandwich.
Yeah.
Say,
Maybe proceeds to charity. Yeah, I like the sound of that.
That would be a good one. Yeah, but the YouTube channel is a great peek inside, I think. Well,
I find this all started through Harry's Espada engine rebuild. Mm-hmm. I didn't even know the gravity of his presence because he's got over 600,000. I know you're over 1 million. I did a little stalking. I know.
Got the golden plaque.
Yeah. Do you want to keep that? Can I
take it back? You can
have you anything to declare?
3D print one. No one will know the difference.
Exactly. Clone. Attack of the Clones.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Where were we? I can't remember.
Oh, just about the YouTube channel. Giving people a good look inside.
So but it's I've been doing what I've been doing for the last however long, 38, 40 years, and all of a sudden this YouTube channel comes along, and it's a whole new world for me.
More importantly, does it bring you business?
Yeah, it does.
Good.
Yeah,
that should be the point.
Yeah.
YouTube is great when you're using it to market the thing that actually makes you money.
Yeah. And I could never see myself stopping doing the core business.
Yeah.
Which is working on these cars.
Well, also YouTube comes and goes. YouTube is not a forever business for anybody. Trust me.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
the algorithm will hang you out to dry eventually. Maybe not today, but
that
eventually.
Sounds like the voice of experience.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe a subject for later.
That's why Harry is such a great content creator, because he so clearly doesn't need it. You know, he's got his funds, he's got his farm, he's got his cars. He makes videos because he clearly enjoys it, and he clearly does not care about the money from YouTube. And so that's the best kind of content creator.
Exactly.
Yeah. Ivan Capote says, what colors or color combination left in the past would you like to see brought back? It's interesting.
Well, that's quite a poignant question, really. I mean, it's quite funny because if you imagine a classic Ferrari, for example, okay, people think red, right? The funny thing is, a lot of Ferraris from the 60s, 70s, 80s particularly didn't leave the factory in red.
And are better without being red.
They did some amazing colors. They did deep burgundy metallics. They did copper metallics. They did green metallics.
Copper brown metallic is one of my favorites.
Killer colors, But the stereotype is a red Ferrari, and of course a lot of them, I don't know whether you use the expression here, but in the UK we had resale red. Yeah. If you want to knock a Dino out, you paint it red.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. My point is, it's amazing how many of these cars started life in really not wacky, but offbeat and not first choice colors in your mind. But people are restoring them back to those colors now, and boy, do they look beautiful.
I think that it's become, thankfully, quite trendy to paint your new car in a vintage color. Porsche lets you do it. Ferrari and Aston Martin will let you do it. I'm sure Rolls-Royce would let you do it, although their colors were never that interesting to begin with.
But copper metallics, brown metallics, I mean, people were like, ugh, no. And now they're all over the place.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a very brief, interesting story. Red metallic that you see cars now, like a bright red? I love red metallics. They couldn't make a red metallic for a number of years because it's like a pearlescent. It's not candy apple red I'm talking about, but it's a similar color because they used whale oil in the paint formulation.
Yeah.
And of course,
There's probably a good reason we can't do that now.
Exactly. Yeah. But now red metallics are back because they found a way of making
how to do it. Yeah. Porsche's having a real tough time right now with some of their colors because they can't get the gold flake, which they need, which comes from the Ukraine.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So a lot of the paint, the sample colors, they have had to cancel orders on because of the gold flake.
I think a lot of electronics for cars are made in the Ukraine as well.
There's a bunch of different issues. I mean, you name a car, I'll tell you what kind of weird thing is missing from their supply chain. It's not good.
I think they made a lot of wiring harnesses there.
Wiring harnesses as well.
Got them,
Yeah.
Anonymity. Is there been any particular car or customer, I'm sure he won't throw a customer under the bus, that Iain has had to say no to, can't or won't do that? Is there a car, forget a customer, is there a car you won't touch?
This is a terrible thing to say, but being a Brit and all, but I don't like some of the British TVRs and Lotuses. I'm saying this in very hushed tones, but because the earthing problems with fiberglass cars and things, the electrics, I try not to work on those.
Okay, that's fair. Totally fair. Yeah, TVRs are weird. Really, really strange cars. I've never driven one. You ever drive one?
Yeah, I've driven a few, yeah.
Are they good to drive?
Well, they're like Lotuses. They're good to drive, but terrible to own. That's what people say.
They're so cool looking. They're just really weird.
They are, yeah. But just on a good day, they're fun.
Modern Lotuses with the Toyota engines are pretty much fine.
Well, funnily enough, Harry came in to see me to shoot the Countach video, and he came in his new Lotus Emira just out. And first thing he did, he walked in, gave me the key, said, "Take that for a drive." And that's a supercharged Toyota 3.5 litre
Camry
V6.
V6, great engine.
I tell you what, that's a lovely car.
Yeah, it's great.
It's £77,000, and it's worth every penny.
Yeah, they haven't made it here yet. The press cars are coming in the next couple of months. Right. I don't know why it's taken them a long time to get the Emiras over here. But the Evora before that was a great car, too.
Yeah.
This one just has a bit more polish on the interior, I think. But that powertrain is very, very good.
Yeah. But the
Makes
whole
a great
car,
sound.
The inside does not look like it. It looks better than a £77,000 car.
Yeah. They make really good cars.
I
hope they can stay in business long enough to keep going.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's cool, man. Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for asking me.
That's it. That's the whole thing. We're done. I really appreciate you coming down and sharing your story. And obviously, you know your stuff. Your videos are really, really interesting. I love nerding out on a Lagonda or a Mura or something on my lunch break. And is the YouTube channel the best way for people to get in touch with you? What if people want to send you a car? What's the best way?
Oh well, funnily enough, my company website is down at the moment just to make things more interesting.
Perfect.
Of course, while I'm away in the US, why wouldn't it be? So forget that for the moment. But cars at Iain, Iain Tyrrell, TYRRELL.co.uk is as good a way as any. Please, can I give my Instagram?
Yeah, right here. We have it up. Iain _Tyrrell. IAIN.
Yeah,
not the American way of spelling
exactly.
it.
_TYRRELL. And obviously, if people want to watch the channel, it's Tyrrell's Classic Workshop.
Yeah, it's a really, really interesting YouTube channel if you're into the nerdiness inside of vintage Italian and British cars. It's very, very cool stuff. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for asking.
Enjoy the rest of your trip here in America.
And enjoy your Countach.
Good luck sorting through the remainders of Chizeta. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah. Good job. I like a challenge.
Yeah. No, you are the man for the job, sir.
Oh.
That's our show. We'll see you back next week. Thank you for listening, and have a good rest of your Sunday, everybody.